I'm with People's Party candidate for Saskatoon-Grasswood, Mark Friesen, and anybody who's been a YouTuber may have come across Mark because he sits in his truck and he talks about politics. And that's how I first saw Mark, was on his YouTube channel. Now, Mark, why did you choose the People's Party of Canada?
It's a long answer. I'll try to be brief. I've been a Conservative supporter for most of my life. In fact, the last federal party I belonged to was the Reform Party. Mm-hmm. And so once the Reform sort of, I call it what it is, they sold us out and merged with the Red Tories back in the day. That was the last time I belonged to a federal party. I just didn't like the direction that the Conservative Party was going, even back then. I know that, King Stephen is well liked and admired by the Conservatives. Although, for me, I have a lot of concerns through the years with Mr. Harper and the Conservative Party. And a lot of that concern revolves around the United Nations and our, for lack of a better word, commitment to the UN and ultimately the UN Sustainable Development Agenda. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, is a sovereignty ceding agreement. And so I had grave concerns about that, so I couldn't support the Conservative Party as a member. Of course, I voted because they were the lesser of two evils for, a good number of years.
Now, if you didn't like Stephen Harper too much, what are your impressions of Andrew Scheer?
Well, worse. Way worse. Now, of course, and I think, Mr. Harper signed a letter to all the members of the Canadian Alliance. And his words were, and I'll paraphrase, that the UN Sustainable Development Agenda is a redistribution of wealth scheme, a socialist redistribution of wealth scheme, meant to suck as much money and wealth out of the West as possible. Now, those were his words to party members before he merged with the PCs.
Those are actually the words of one member of the International Panel on Climate Change as well. Right. Not in those terms, but a wealth distribution scheme.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Mr. Harper recognized that back in the day. He knew that back in the day. But because he wanted power, and the only way to get power was to merge with the Red Tories, who were part of the Mulroney days, and Mulroney in 1992 signed on to the UN SDA. So once that merge happened, I knew that wasn't the direction that I was going to support. And I think Mr. Harper tried to fight against that, but I think the pressure was too great to gain power and to keep power. And unfortunately, sold the rest of Canada out in the process. So, even when, after Max left and created the PPC, for about 10 weeks to 14 days, there was a bit of a window there where I was depressed because like most Conservatives, I was under the impression that was going to split the vote on the right and allow, Trudeau to carry on for another 4, maybe 8 years. But I had to do some soul searching. I actually got into a debate with a number of folks that I call friends in town who had followed Max before. And they left with Max and they supported Max with the new party. And I got into a debate with them about splitting the vote and about values and about principles. I didn't cave in that debate because I was, like most Conservatives, strong and I got to fight for anything but Trudeau. And so, but after 14 days or so, a couple of weeks, I really looked at my values. I looked at what I wanted for my country, and I had no choice. Then, of course, I looked at the platform that Max was bringing forward. I looked at Maxime Bernier historically, maybe the last 10 years. But I came across one video where Max was interviewed by Mark Steyn. And 2 minutes into that video, Max said very clearly that Canada needs to back out of the UN and back out of all of these agreements. And I've waited so long for any politician to say those words. He said it, I watched it, and it was at that moment I said, okay, I'm in for the PPC. I joined the party very shortly after, and as I've progressed and evolved as the party has evolved to the point where it is, I guess it was probably January, I finally committed to throw my name in as a candidate. And I believe that the People's Party, the most distinctive issue that separates us from the rest of the establishment parties, and it doesn't matter if it's Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Green, it doesn't matter. They've all committed to the UN. They've all committed to the agenda. And the agenda, as everyone can see now, is being really pushed and promoted, not only from our politicians, from the UN, but Hollywood and the media. It's really starting to show itself. And people, just regular Canadians, are looking around at each other, trying to figure out what the heck's going on in our country. Why are we destroying our resource industry? Why are we talking about transgender so much? Why are we talking about carbon tax? Why are we talking about a cap system, or all of these added taxes that are funneling money to the UN? Why are all these things happening? People are wondering why this is all going on. And if you can, I like to call it the head of the snake. If you can identify the head of the snake and cut the head off, the rest of the issues will fall into place. And I truly believe that the People's Party understands this, understands that the head of the snake, if we can cut ourselves away from that, we solve a lot of the issues that are affecting us right now. Other than, of course, equalization, some other domestic issues that we're taking a stand on and make ourselves distinctive with. But I think ultimately the UN, if that is the most distinctive, and I've said it to party members from September till right now, that is the most distinctive issue. And if we can educate Canadians as to the effect that is having on all aspects of our life, if we can educate and inform enough Canadians, we will win in a landslide.
Now, we're in Gatineau, Quebec at the moment of this recording, and Maxime Bernier, as of this date, is yet to be allowed onto the debate stage with the other federal party leaders. What would your argument be for having Max debate those 5 leaders?
Well, again, Max represents a great number of Canadians. Our party has 40,000 members. We have 338 EDAs. We have 310, I think it is, candidates now. We represent a large constituency of Canadians, on top of a large constituency of Canadians that don't even understand what's happening around them and why these things are happening. And I think once those people understand, then they'll come aboard and understand what we're trying to do. In order for us to be able to educate Canadians and inform Canadians as to what's happening, we need to have a voice. And of course, one of those ways of giving us a voice and giving Canadians an ear and a voice to these issues is to have Max in the debate. Of course, we are the only party that, again, isn't the establishment. We've been playing whack-a-mole on a merry-go-round for 150 years. And it's time we take our country back by voting for something that isn't part of the establishment.
Mark, thank you very much.
You're welcome.